Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I know there is more excitement in this room than what I just heard, so we'll do it one more time. Good afternoon, everyone. There we go. Now that is what, right, that was better. Okay. This is a terrific day, and I'm so excited to be here with all of you and Governor Shapiro and the First Lady. I am Dr. Val Arkush, and I have the incredible honor of serving as the Secretary of Pennsylvania's Department of Human Services. I'm honored to join the Governor and the First Lady today as the Governor signs groundbreaking executive orders that build upon a steadfast commitment to ensuring that individuals with disabilities have the services, the protections, and the supports that they need to thrive. This work has been a focus of the Governor, the First Lady, and this administration from day one. This is a commitment rooted in phone calls that the Governor and I would get when we served together as county commissioners from parents of an adult with an intellectual disability or autism who are trying to plan for their child's future. Commitments founded through the incredible work and tireless advocacy of self-advocates and families, including many that are here with us today. And from deep conversations led by the First Lady with people trying so hard just to get a job, but meeting barrier after barrier. To make change, you need two things: resources and will. In just 3 years, we have made tremendous progress, turning our values into actions. We're here today because this governor, Governor Shapiro, still has more stuff that he wants to get done. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Governor Josh Shapiro.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Secretary Arkush. Secretary Arkush is an outstanding leader of the Department of Human Services, a compassionate soul who listens with her heart and does a lot of great work for the people in this room and people all across Pennsylvania. Madam Secretary, thank you for your outstanding work. And I want to acknowledge some of the many leaders from my administration who are here. Dr. Deb Bogan, the leader of our Department of Health, our General Counsel, Jen Selber, who had an important hand in the work that we're going to announce today, and Secretary Akbar Hussain, who leads our policy shop, and my Deputy Chief of Staff, Lindsay Malden, who I know many of you know. I was going to say who many of you know and love, but you started clapping through the love. But we so appreciate you, Lindsay, and the entire team. And I want to thank some of our legislative leaders who are with us today. I want to name them because it is important for you to know who is here with us today, because they're not just here for a press conference, they're here to do this important work every day. Representative Salisbury and Representative Hohenstein, you should clap for them. The pastor, Representative Dan Williams, thank you. And Representative Jamie Flick, we appreciate you very much. But most importantly, I'm grateful that you are all with us here today. It is incredible to see so many of you here in the governor's reception room to celebrate our neighbors with disabilities and to talk about the progress that we are making to better support them and their families. I think some underestimate what people with disabilities are capable of. I see how extraordinary and awesome you all are. Sadly, right now, in our nation's capital, we have a president and a Secretary of Health and Human Services who openly disregard and disrespect and mock people with disabilities. I think that's disgraceful. But we're different here in Pennsylvania. Here, we treat all people with respect and with dignity, the kind of dignity that they deserve. We believe in building a government that is compassionate and thoughtful and creates safe and loving spaces for all. We believe in listening to Pennsylvanians with disabilities and we believe in giving them a seat at the table as policymakers and as decision makers for the rest of us. So much of this work, so much of the attitude that we bring to governing has really come from the love and the compassion and the drive of Pennsylvania's First Lady and the love of my life since the 9th grade, Lori Shapiro, who joins us here today. Lori and I have been laser focused on making sure Pennsylvanians with disabilities have the resources that they need to succeed and to thrive and to live their lives on their own terms and to their absolute fullest. Because we know that people with disabilities make our communities stronger. That's why, in just a few moments, I will sign 3 executive orders to expand protections for people with disabilities here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The first will create, for the first time ever, the Governor's Advisory Commission on People with Disabilities. This is a brand new commission that will help coordinate the entire Shapiro-Davis administration's work to better support Pennsylvanians with disabilities. This commission, importantly, will have a direct line to me and to my senior staff to advise on laws and policies and programs that impact Pennsylvanians with disabilities. And the commission will be made up with people with disabilities representing the full breadth of this community, including Pennsylvanians with intellectual disabilities, autism, physical disabilities, developmental disabilities, and the deaf and blind. I want you to know we are now hiring for an executive director of this new commission right now. In fact, we just posted the position a few hours ago. So if you're interested in applying, head on over to pa.gov/governorscommissions and get your resume in right away. The second executive order I'll be signing directs state agencies under my jurisdiction to do more than just simply comply with state and federal laws regarding non-discrimination. It directs them to go above and beyond what the law requires to ensure that our services are accessible and our Commonwealth is a warm and welcoming place for people of all abilities. Agencies are now directed under this executive order to find new opportunities to support our neighbors with disabilities. Let me give you just one concrete example of this. Our Capitol building, where we are today, is designated an historic building. It is exempt from much of the ADA requirements. Yet under this executive order, even though it's exempt from those federal laws, we'll look for ways to make this building even more accessible than it is. And by the way, I want to thank the Department of General Services for the steps they've already taken in this space. That is an important step forward. It also strengthens, and this is important, I've heard from many of you about this, the privacy protections to keep personal information of Pennsylvanians with disabilities from being disclosed without legitimate need. I see a number of heads nodding, and I know many of you have talked to Lindsay and Akbar and others about this. All across the country, we've seen the consequences of federal overreach, and I know many of you are worried that the administration in Washington is trying to create a national database of people with disabilities. Hear me on this. We will not let them get a hold of your private personal information, and the action I am taking today helps protect against that. The third executive order I'm about to sign updates our Developmental Disabilities Council within the Department of Human Services, led by Dr. Arkush. It charges that council, with developing and implementing a state plan on developmental disability. This will be the council that directly advises the secretary on these important policies. Why is this necessary? Because this council has literally not been updated for 30 years. It is long past time to modernize this approach and to ensure that the secretary has all the resources she needs in her ear. You can clap for that. Today, we're modernizing its structure. We're putting more Pennsylvanians with actual lived experiences on the council and giving them a mandate to develop a meaningful plan for this important community. Taken together, all three of these executive orders will strengthen protections for people with disabilities. It will improve Commonwealth services available to them. Far too often, decisions are made about people with disabilities, not with them. That changes today here in Pennsylvania. You know, Laura and I hear from parents all the time who are worried, who just need a little bit of extra help, but they have to jump through so many hoops just to get that help. Today is an attempt to get rid of some of that hoops, give those parents a little more peace of mind, and to make sure that people with disabilities not only have a seat at the table, but that they are the ones driving the change here in the Commonwealth, the ones making recommendations directly to me, to the First Lady, and to our senior team about what needs to be done. I believe this is the best way to build on the important work that we've done to deliver more support and more resources for Pennsylvanians with disabilities over the last 3 years. This has been a huge priority for the First Lady and I, because as we've traveled across our Commonwealth, we've gotten to hear firsthand from Pennsylvanians with disabilities and from the families and the caregivers who love and support them. I want you to know the stories that you have shared with us. It has motivated us and it has led us to this important day. It's motivated us to try and get more stuff done for all of you. Folks like Sherry Landis and her team at the ARC of Pennsylvania do incredible work every day and have been an important source of information for us. People like Lisa Butler, a mom who advocates for families like hers and is the chair of the Pennsylvania Developmental Disabilities Council, which will now have new life breathed into it in just a few moments when I sign this EO. And folks, like my buddy Matt Jennings, who's over there with his mom Cindy. Cindy serves as Matt's full-time caretaker, and she has opened up my eyes to the needs of caretakers. And Cindy, you have pushed me, and you have challenged me, and you have challenged the legislature to step up and do more. And we are grateful to you for all of your work. I want to thank Erin and her son Tommy, a musician and an advocate himself, who was diagnosed with autism more than 20 years ago. I'm just inspired by all of you, and I'm grateful that you are here, and you're going to hear from them shortly. Look, for too long, I think Harrisburg has failed to meet the needs of Pennsylvanians with disabilities who've long been crying out for more help and more support services. I remember being a state lawmaker. I would see advocates show up in the Capitol a few times a year, sometimes rolling their wheelchairs into the members' offices, asking them to step up and invest and help this community that is in need. And too oftentimes they would leave empty-handed. That's changed under my administration, and that's changed with these lawmakers. We've come together, Democrat and Republican alike, to finally invest and tackle the challenges that people with disabilities and the IDA community have and are facing. Instead of ignoring them, instead of sending them on their way empty-handed, we found ways to come together to get stuff done and to invest in them. I worked with Democrats and Republicans in our state legislature to increase funding for home and community-based services for the IDA community, securing an historic $355 million for this critical work a couple years ago, and have built on that since. We work together to raise reimbursement rates and to increase wages for direct support professionals and pay them the wages that they deserve for their noble work. And at the same time, we've worked very hard, especially through the leadership of Dr. Arkush, to eliminate a huge portion of the adult emergency waiting list for services and get more Pennsylvanians the care that they deserve. Because of her and her team's outstanding work, we've substantially cut the job vacancy rate for DSPs, direct support professionals. We've increased wages, thanks to the hard work of members of the General Assembly, by 10%. And as a result of this progress, we've been able to enroll 4,000 more of our neighbors in Pennsylvania with intellectual disabilities and autism into the critical services they need. 4,000 more since I took office. We have reduced the emergency wait list by 31%. Working together, we did that. The secretary was so excited this weekend, she texted me that 3 counties now, Lawrence, Warren, and Forest counties, have completely eliminated their adult emergency wait list for services. The first time ever. That's a big deal. At the same time, under Lori's leadership, working together with Secretary Nancy Walker, we have increased support for the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry's Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. Since the start of our administration, OVR has supported 76,000 Pennsylvanians with disabilities and strengthened partnerships with them and employers across our Commonwealth. Lori refers to OVR as Pennsylvania's best kept secret. Thanks to Lori's work, they are no longer a secret, and they are doing inspiring work every single day. Laura has spent the better part of the last few years talking to CEOs of major companies in Pennsylvania, telling them about OVR and pitching them on hiring people with disabilities, not as an act of charity, but as a way to enrich their lives and strengthen their companies. She's so good at this, she managed to get Sheetz and Wawa to work together and increase the number of people with disabilities working there. Lori always says this, that here in Pennsylvania, we know Pennsylvanians with disabilities bring unique strengths to their jobs, and we are seeing it every day through the outstanding work of OVR. I want you to know that this is only the start of the work that we're going to do together. Together with all of you, with the new Governor's Advisory Commission on People with Disabilities, and with families and advocates across this Commonwealth, so many of you in this room today who challenge us, who inspire us, who inform us. You are doing important work for the rest of us. We will continue to ensure that Pennsylvania is a place where all people are respected and all people are loved for who they are. I want to thank you all for being here today for this important announcement. In a few moments, I'm going to sign these executive orders, but before I do, I want to bring up some wonderful advocates who have worked closely with our administration, beginning with Sherry Landis. Thank you all. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the ARC of Pennsylvania's Board of Directors and the individuals and families we have advocated for and with for the last 76 years, thank you, Governor Shapiro, for bringing us here today for this historic signing of the executive order that will create the Advisory Commission on People with Disabilities. Governor Shapiro, I want to acknowledge that from the beginning of your administration, you have worked and embraced the disability community. Whether it is hosting a Special Olympics bocce tournament at the governor's residence.
You had to bring that up. I lost in that.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, meeting with individuals and families impacted by the staffing crisis, or investing over $354 million into home and community-based services here in Pennsylvania. These actions demonstrate a commitment to listening, leading, cliffhanger, and with inclusion for the citizens of the Commonwealth. Today's signing of the executive order solidifies the commitment. At its core, an advisory commission on people with disabilities is about representation, equity, and voice. For too long, people with disabilities have been left out of the conversations that directly impact their lives. whether their conversations are about housing, education, employment, or community access. Decisions have often been made about people with disabilities rather than with them. A commission on people with disabilities changes that. It ensures that people with disabilities have a voice, and not just a voice, but a seat at the table. This matters because lived experience brings insight that policies alone cannot capture. No one understands the barriers in our communities better than those who face them every day. When individuals with disabilities are included in leadership and advisory roles, the result is a stronger, more effective, and more equitable decision-making. But this is not just about addressing challenges. It's also about recognizing value. People with disabilities contribute to our communities in countless ways, as workers, as leaders, as advocates, as neighbors, and friends. They are valued citizens of Pennsylvania. A commission creates a formal space to elevate these contributions and ensure they are reflected in policies and priorities. It also sends a powerful message that inclusion is not optional, it's essential. A commission on people with disabilities can help identify gaps in accessibility, recommend solutions, and hold systems accountable. It can foster collaboration between government, organizations, and the disability community. And importantly, it can shift perspective from viewing disability as a limitation to recognizing it as a natural and valuable part of human diversity. When people with disabilities are included from the beginning, we just don't remove barriers, we build communities for everyone. So establishing a commission on people with disabilities is not just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. Let's commit to creating spaces where everyone is heard, where everyone belongs, and where every citizen of the Commonwealth has the opportunity to shape the future of their community. Because true inclusion means more than being invited into the room. It means having a voice, a seat at the table, and the power to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. It's my pleasure to invite Lisa Butler to share a few words. Lisa?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa Butler, and I have the honor of serving my second term as chair of the Pennsylvania Developmental Disability Council. Governor Shapiro, thank you for inviting me and several of my council members to celebrate the signing of the executive order. Secretary Arcus, thank you so much for all your support, and I'd be amiss if I didn't thank Deputy Secretary Kristen Ahrens for all her continued support. Today is much more than a ceremony. It is a reminder of how far we've come and a commitment to never turn back. This year marks 55 years since Governor Milton Schaap created the Pennsylvania Developmental Disability Council, and we look back at where Pennsylvania stood in 1971. The contrast is striking. In the early 1970s, more than 12,000 Pennsylvanians lived in state-run institutions. Today, only a few hundred remain. There were no home and community-based services in Medicaid. Today, there are approximately 50,000 people in their communities. There was no Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, no right to education, no Olmstead decision affirming the right to live in the community. When I think about what that would have meant for my daughter, Sophia, I'm reminded exactly why this work matters. because the policies we shape determine whether people get the chance to live the life they deserve. When my daughter was born, weighing in only at 2 pounds, that's less than a bag of sugar, and she fit into my hand. I'm going to show my age now, but Cabbage Patch dolls were how we dressed her. We were told that she would never do anything for herself, that the best we could do was take her home and love her. That was the limit placed on her life before she had even lived a day. I can tell you, as a military veteran, I think fighting for my daughter and for people with disabilities is a lot harder. But it means so much more. Think about this. If she had been born in 1971 without the right to education, she would not have been allowed in school. Without the American with Disabilities Act, she would not have been able to enter this very building. And without Olmsted, she would have been forced into an institution far from us and her community. But today, because she was born in 2001 and lives at home with us, because she has access to supports and services that allow her to thrive, because she is a valued member of her community, she has shattered every prediction made about her. Sophia advocates for herself. She feeds herself using cutting-edge assistive technology, and recently, in just one day, she learned how to drive her very own standing power chair. She goes, I'm going up, I'm going down. And of course, I have videos and pictures if anyone's willing to stand and watch it. She understands far more than she lets on, and let me reassure you, she is a Spitfire. Sophia is living proof of why the principles behind the Developmental Disabilities Act and the goals it sets for our nation must always guide us. The progress we've made in Pennsylvania and across the nation happened because people with disabilities, their families, and their allies refuse to be silent. Councils like ours ensure people have the knowledge, skills, and opportunities to shape the policies that impact their lives, live independently, make their own choices, and contribute to their communities. For our 5-year plan targets the barriers Pennsylvania tells us matter most. Housing, ensuring people can live in the communities they choose. Employment, recognizes the talent and value people with disabilities bring to the workforce. And ending the waiting list. Because no one should have to wait years for the supports that make ordinary life matter. This plan is not symbolic. It is a commitment to building a Commonwealth where every person has a chance to fully participate and thrive. Real people, people like my daughter Sophia, and the people who stand with me here today working to change lives and transform futures. For 55 years, the Council has helped build a Pennsylvania where people with disabilities can live, learn, work, and belong in a place they call home. And with this executive order, we are strengthening that commitment for the next generation. Governor, I want to thank you again for your leadership and for ensuring that people with disabilities and their families remain at the center of the decisions that affect them. I have all the faith that together we can continue building Pennsylvania where every person has the opportunity to live a full, self-determined life.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you, Lisa. We thank you for your service to this country. We thank you for your service to Sophia. We have a daughter named Sophia. And we also thank you for the example you set, which has helped other Sophias and other children get the help that they so deservingly should have here in Pennsylvania. So thank you very, very much. It is now my pleasure to introduce Erin and her son, Tommy. Tommy's my buddy. We were hanging out in my office before we came out here, and I'm really excited for you all to get the chance to meet Tommy. Tommy, the floor is yours.
You go first.
I'm Tom's mom. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak today. I'm Erin Lopes. I've worked in healthcare here in Pennsylvania for many years. I'm also a parent and advocate in the autism community, and as you know, I'm here today with my son, Tom. When the Federal Health and Human Services Office under RFK Jr. announced last year that it planned to launch a national autism registry that sought to collect personally identifiable autism-related data without individual or guardian consent and without any provisions for the safeguarding of these data, many of us in the autism community felt a chill. How would the privacy and civil rights of autistic individuals and their families be protected? How would this very sensitive data be used? And how would a national registry protect individuals with autism from bias and from being excluded? On the federal level, there were no clear answers, and information coming from HHS was inconsistent and at times contradictory. So we turned to our state to seek the protections and safeguards that were needed. This executive order today is a very important step in protecting the autonomy, civil rights, and data privacy of individuals with autism and their families from the overreach of the federal government. I want to thank our extraordinary team of advocates, Dr. David Mandel from the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine, who was on our team, who dedicated his career to autism research, fellow advocate and parent Judith Briggs, dedicated autism advocate, Cheryl Steele, who's here with us today, fellow parent and founder of the Autism Toolbox Training Program in Pennsylvania, Dr. Aaron Friedlander, who is a physician at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and fellow parent, and finally Craig Snyder, policy director for the Autism Science Foundation, and one of the original advocates for the Autism Cares Act. I want to thank our team. I'm so grateful for your tireless advocacy, and it has been an honor to work with each of you. And on behalf of our group, we would like to share our deepest gratitude for Governor Shapiro and his team, including Lindsay Malden, Meghna Patel, Kristen Ahrens, and Dr. Arkush, who listened to our concerns and really considered the needs of the autism community when creating this important executive order. And now I'll turn the podium over to my son, Tom.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Bach. I'm 26 years old, and I have autism. I was diagnosed at age 3. Growing up with autism was really hard. Trying to connect and socialize with other people has been really hard for me. But I have a supportive family and friends who really helped me, and last year I graduated from college. I'm currently pursuing a career in music, but I worry about being openly autistic in these times. I worry a lot that people may not understand me or they might judge me because I'm autistic. I feel that some of the actions of the federal HHS in the last year have only made people understand autism less, and they haven't shown what autism really is. To me, autism is a wide spectrum. People with autism can do things like work or drive a car or even live independently. People with autism who can't do these things need to be included more than they are, and they deserve to get all the help they need. I feel that the whole autism community has not been seen. Today is an important day in Pennsylvania because our governor is showing he cares about the autism and disability communities. Having autonomy is very important to me. I feel better knowing this executive order will safeguard my data privacy. With this executive order, I appreciate the fact that Governor Shapiro respects the autonomy that I deserve. It's very important to me that people with autism be treated equally. So I'm grateful to Governor Shapiro and his team for signing an executive order to safeguard the data privacy of autistic people. I also like that they will also be using language to reflect the dignity of all people with disabilities. And they will be starting a new commission to hear from the disability community. All of these things are important to me, and I'm grateful that we are being heard and recognized. Finally, thank you, Governor Shapiro, for all you are doing to support equity, autonomy, and the dignity of the autism and disability communities. Thank you, and Governor Shapiro, take it from here.
Thanks, Tom. Tom, don't go too far, because I'd like you and your mom and the others to join me as we sign the executive orders, and then I'll come back and answer some questions from the media. All right. Here we go. Sign this executive orders. They now have the force of law. I'm going to give them to our general counsel to make sure they get filed properly. But I want to make sure that this first pen goes to Secretary Arthur for the outstanding work. I remember almost 3 years ago when Cindy came into my office and shared with me the challenges that as a mom she faces every day. And after you left, I brought Lindsay Malden in my office and I said, we cannot let these people down any longer. They need to have a seat at the table. And Lindsay Malden has made sure to drive this process forward. Lynn, this is for you. Really. Has been an advocate all across Pennsylvania in so many rooms, making sure that the voices of people with disabilities are always heard, and now we've got a lot more teeth to back that up. Thank you very much. Here we go. This way. Okay, yours. Okay, next slide we go. Now we're gonna look, Dan, raise your hand. We're gonna look at Dan. Everybody's gonna smile.
Here we go. And real quick, I'm sorry for the camera guys in the back. We gotta get everybody. Thank you.
You folks can stay on the table here or sit down. So I was going to change the rest of the press.
Q&A. Yeah. Well, I have a bill running. I have a bill running. Oh, you should. It's gonna be see you back.
If folks can take their seat, please, we'll get to some quick press Q&A. We'll get to mingling in a moment, all right? Thank you.
I'll come over and say hi. Could I do that? Yeah. I'm going to come right over and say hi to everybody, but the people in the back of the room here with the cameras and the notepads, they're the ones that share information with people all across Pennsylvania about the work we do. And I want to see if they have any questions about these executive orders. So go ahead, guys. Yeah, Will calling you. It's hard to see.
You talked about some federal movement trying to create a national database, right? Has the health department actually come down and tried to get access to any information?
Well, they've demanded that we turn over that information, and we're not going to do that. Just like the Department of Justice has demanded we turn over the private personal information of all voters in Pennsylvania. We're not going to do that. These executive orders, and we'll share a copy with you so you can see the text, strengthen the privacy protections for the people of Pennsylvania.
Jillian?
Yes, Governor, hey, I'm sorry. So you mentioned that this is the first time in about 30 years that the Intellectual Disabilities Council is being meaningfully updated. How will that operate differently?
Absolutely. Well, first, I'm going to talk about the commission, and then I'm going to ask the secretary to speak about the council. The commission advises me and my senior team, and they have a whole of government approach. So they will be able to infuse our recommendations into all different agencies and all different operations of government. The council directly advises the secretary. And that council, notwithstanding the great work that they've done, has not been meaningfully updated in 3 decades. Madam Secretary, if you want to talk about how that council impacts your work and what these updates mean.
Yes, thank you. So as you heard, the council has existed for about 50 years now, and this new EO will update the language used to describe their work. It will codify the members of that council and put a much more modern, forward-looking description of the work that they do, which is so important because now it will be codified in an executive order. And so we look forward to continuing to build on the work that we've already gotten done here during the first 3 years and just setting a great path forward through this council.
The bottom line takeaway here, Jillian, is people with disabilities have a seat at the table in the agency that touches their lives the most, the Department of Human Services, and they've got the ear of the secretary. And now, for the first time ever, we have a commission that is able to get the governor's ear and impact policy all across government.
Yes, Zach?
Governor, just follow up on what Jackson said.
Did those guys throw you out of the press pool and put you on the couch here?
I got in the kid seat today.
Go ahead, Zach.
Has HHS said to you that they plan to file a lawsuit or take any kind of action for this information that you have refused to turn
No
over?
lawsuit's been filed yet. They typically do not give us a heads up on that front. They have sued us, for example, to get the private personal information of all voters in Pennsylvania. We're defending the Commonwealth in that suit. We'll see if they take any further action, and Will and Rosie and our team will keep you updated on any legal steps they take.
1 or 2 more? Yeah, 1. Unrelated question?
Let's see if there's anything else on this. Anything else on this?
Related, do you think there's an urgent need to increase the Medicaid reimbursement rates, not just for the services that the folks here use, but generally across the board?
I do. Look, we have seen, unfortunately, the federal government cut over $1 billion out of just Pennsylvania's state Medicaid allotment. And you know, of course, that Medicaid is funded partially by the state, partially by the federal government. In addition to that, I've got forces on the other side of the aisle that are pushing me every budget cycle to cut money out of Medicaid. We have resisted that. We want to make sure that we are finding ways to expand opportunities for people to get the care that they need. Under the Secretary's leadership, we've been able to hold the line, and we've been able, through, frankly, just some extraordinary work in her department of streamlining, of saving money, drive more of those dollars out to helping meet people's needs. We're going to continue to do that. The federal cuts to Medicaid that are coming down now and will into next year we estimate will result in 310,000 Pennsylvanians losing Medicaid coverage. It's an extraordinary number of our neighbors who are going to lose coverage. No state can plug the hole of the federal cuts. Hopefully the federal government will rethink that before all those cuts go into effect and reverse those cuts.
Yeah, Governor, we in the media know as well as anyone that a lot of the budget negotiations have been private. This year, there's something different going on. There's data center proposals going on all around the state, and many of the people in the Commonwealth are affected by these. Would you say that the conversation with the legislature about rules for data centers should be separate from the conversation about the budget, so people hear the conversation as it happens?
I mean, I hope the legislature carefully considers the grid proposal that I laid out in my budget address a couple months ago. I made clear that anyone who wants to build a data center here in Pennsylvania has to generate energy. They've got to pay for that energy, so they're not saddling the consumers with it. They've got to be careful about the use of water and protecting our environment, our planet. They've got to be very open and transparent with the local community about what they're seeking to build. There has to be a community benefits agreement for the local community, and they have to hire local. Those are my baseline standards. If you don't meet those baseline standards, you're gonna have a hard time getting your permitting done through the Commonwealth. We understand that there is a local permitting process, a local control process, as well as a state process. And right now, you're seeing local governments across the board exercise that right. It is my hope that lawmakers on both sides of the aisle who have expressed positivity toward my grid proposal will carefully consider it, will make whatever amendments that they see fit to it, and that the legislature will put a comprehensive bill on my desk soon. Whether that is done separate from the budget process or with it, much of that will be up to Leader Pittman and Leader Bradford to decide. They control the flow of bills on their agenda. What's important to me is that it gets to my desk so I can sign it into law and protect the good people of Pennsylvania. I want to thank you all for being here today. This is not typical. Typically, the press will sit in the seats where you are today. I think I can speak for the media. They were happy to give up their seats to welcome all of you here today. I know for many of you, it was a journey to be here. I'm going to spend some time with you now. I know the First Lady will as well. It means a lot to me that you took the time to be here. It means a lot to me that you've pushed our team and helped us get to this point. And the work is only beginning. We've got a lot more to do, and good things are going to happen thanks to your engagement. We appreciate you very much. Thank you.